Hi, again. We're going to start today by taking ourselves down onto the mat, whichever way suits you. Because I don't have osteoporosis and I don't have a diastasis, I'm going to roll my way down. Those of you that do can come down onto your side and then onto your back, but you already knew that. We're going to start today by just getting a sense of how our bodies feel on the mat. Start to walk the shoulder blades away from the hips, creating as much space for your spine as you can. We're going to lengthen the back of the neck and place the head between the shoulders. The hands are resting down by the sides. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, the soles of your feet feel heavy in the mat. The hips sink deep into the floor. The shoulder blades feel as though they're sinking into a mattress. And the back of your head feels like it's sinking into a cloud. Your arms feel light and loose. Your collarbones widen as you exhale, feeling all of the muscles in your ribs just completely relaxing and releasing. We'll take another breath in. This time with a bit more action, we're going to exhale, pressing the breath out, using the diaphragm, feeling the rib cage pressing down into the mat. Lovely. We'll take another breath. This time as you exhale, we'll press the rib cage down to the mat. Begin to float the arms away from the floor. Feel how that changes the muscles around the spine. As you begin to reach the arms back, make sure that you've got an exhale ready to close the ribs, pressing the ribs into the mat. We're going to circle the arms around the body, breathing in as the hands come towards the hips. Breathing out as we press the ribs back into the mat. Arms floating just to hover above the floor. One more circle now. Amazing. Hands can come back down to the hips. Palms can face up. We'll float the right knee over the hip and float the left knee over the hip. Sounds simple. Hopefully you can feel what's happening here in your lower core. We'll take a breath in. Now as you exhale, we're going to press the sacrum down into the floor. That flat piece of bone at the base of your spine. We'll breathe in, feel how as you breathe in, you naturally relax, your spine naturally goes back into its curve. We'll breathe out again, sacrum presses down into the floor. You might see my legs moving just a little bit closer towards me. Now that's not because I'm moving my legs, not at all, it's only because I'm moving my spine. Hands are still by your sides, breath in. Now as we breathe out, we press sacrum and rib cage into the floor. The arms float up and over the shoulders and behind the head. The arms circle around the body. Breathe in. And again. Sacrum, rib cage. Maybe a little more of your spine if you can. One more circle here. We can even feel the back of the neck pressing back into the floor, lengthening the neck. Nice work. We'll bring the knees into the chest and have a little break, because although that looks pretty easy, I'm sure you'll agree that was quite challenging. The arms are going to come back by your sides now. The knees are going to move forward over the hips again. So we're going to press the sacrum down, get to a point where we can hold the sacrum down even when we're inhaling. Nice. And then as you exhale, we're going to stretch the right leg forward. The leg might go forward at an angle, like mine, or it might lower closer to the floor, like this, if you can. Breathe in, drag your knee back towards you, as though you're pulling it through soggy cotton wool. Breathe out, we press the sacrum back into the mat, and the left leg slowly lengthens. Don't forget the rib cage is also still pressing back into the mat. We can feel width between the collarbones. We can feel length through the back of the neck. Now the right leg is going to stretch forward. Can we take the left arm back as well. Don't feel your leg or your arm have to go as low as mine. You might just take both to a 45-degree angle to the floor. I'm more interested in what level of control you can maintain through the spine, the ribs, the sacrum. We've just got one more on each side to go. Nice, I can feel a little gentle quiver telling me that I'm working hard. It feels good. Beautiful. Oh, knees can come back to your chest. You're going to have a little roll around. Imagine that you're an egg on a giant spoon. And now roll the other way. Good work. Okie dokie. So the feet are going to pop down onto the floor. We're going to spread out the toes, feel the arches, feel the feet, and just really remember what they are. Does that make sense? It will in a minute. We'll take a breath in. As we breathe out, we're going to roll the pelvis back, pressing first the sacrum into the mat, and then the lower spine, tilting the pelvis as though we're pouring water from the pelvis into the belly. We'll breathe in as we tilt the pelvis forward, as though we're pouring that water between the legs and onto the floor. Lovely. Now, if you have osteoporosis, I'm going to show you a different version of bridge so that this workout is safe for you. So everybody else, carry on. If you have osteoporosis, we want to try and keep this section of your spine at least in neutral and definitely not in a curved shape. So we can do a bridge from here, but instead of rolling the pelvis up from the floor like we normally would do, we press the pelvis up and away from the floor with the spine in neutral. Have a look at this. We fold at the hips, sending the buttocks down to the floor. We press the hips up by extending the hips and just using the glutes rather than articulating the spine. So that's what you guys are going to do. We're all going to go into bridge now. We're going to exhale your normal bridge. You'll roll your pelvis so that you pour your water into your belly. We're going to start to peel the spine away from the floor. Feels so good. We'll breathe in as we approach the top so that we can keep a fluid movement breathing out as we immediately start to lower the spine back down to the floor. You need to time your breathing so that you begin your inhale just before you lower the hips to the mat. Continue inhaling as you pour the water between the legs. Then begin your exhale as you start to pour the water into the belly. As we approach the shoulder blades, begin your inhale. Shoulders are feeling heavy, collarbones are nice and wide. And exhale as we drift back down and into the mat. Beautiful. We'll all come up into our own bridge for the last time. Up we go. So you remember that weird comment I made about the feet? So we're going to really get a sense of the feet now. We're going to start to wiggle the toes. Start to rock from side to side on the feet. So on one, say rocking to the left, so you're on the inside of one foot, the outside of the other. To the right, same again. Good. We're going to lift one heel. Let's lift the right heel and then lift the left heel. You can see I'm having to just shift my position a bit to make that better. Good. We're going to keep lifting and lowering just for a few. Just starting to work into the arches. Try and control this with the glutes rather than making it too hamstringy. If it's a bit too hamstringy for you, turn your toes out. Move your feet just a little bit wider apart. That should work. Nice. All right, so we're going to raise the heels, both of them. And then we're going to do whichever bridge we've been practicing. Rolling the spine back down into the mat. Breathing in as we roll the pelvis forward, pouring water between the legs. Breathing out as we roll the pelvis back, pressing into the balls of the big toes to lift the hips. Lovely. We're going to do two more. Try and keep the heels as high as you can. Trying to keep your focus on the ball of the big toe. That's going to fire up the adductors, the inner thighs. We're working the arches of the feet. That's going to give us more stability through the ankles. That sends a knock-on effect through to the knees, the hips, the spine, and then the upper body as well. It's all connected. We've lowered for the last time now. We can let the feet come down. Stretch out your right leg. The left leg stretches into the air. We're going to give the foot a lovely twirl all the way around. Loosen it all up again. And reverse your twirl. Lovely. Nice. Let's do the same for the right. Feels nice. And reverse. I'm saying, oh, everything's nice today. It just does all feel really nice today. Okay, so we're going to stretch out the right leg again. Take the left knee over the hip. I want you to let your left hip drop into the floor. Can you feel that the right hip is now lifted? I want you to push your right hip into the floor and your left hip comes back into line. We'll do that again. Breathe in, drop the left hip into the floor so the pelvis tilts. Breathe out, press the right hip into the floor so the pelvis returns to neutral. Now, there are a few different muscles we could use for this. What I want you to be using, breathe in as you drop and relax, okay? I want you to use the left side of your tummy and the right side of your back to rotate the pelvis back to neutral. Breathe in, you can feel those muscles relax. Breathe out, feel as though you're pulling the left hip bone towards the pubic bone and the right hip bone towards the spine. Hold it there. Straighten your left leg. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. As you start to circle the left leg away from the center out to the left, you can feel that the left hip is trying to drop, right? So use left tummy and right back to keep the leg, to keep the pelvis stable. Now, when we're totally stable, a one-leg circle is a very small circle indeed. Because there's only so far out you can take the leg before the hips have to move. The range of motion in your joint, it will be determined by the shape of your hip joint itself. Keep thinking about that rotation through the pelvis, keeping you stable. We've got one more circle this way. And now we know why we need to keep this slow. We need to use that exhale to help us to activate our deep core. Nice. We're ready to reverse. Exhaling as the leg comes out to the side. Inhaling to return. Now don't forget about the ribs here. Keep pressing both sides of the rib cage back into the mat on that exhale. You feel how much harder it is to press the right side of the rib cage down. So we're going to use the muscles underneath the right side of the ribs. Deep core, obliques, and diaphragm. Last circle here. Beautiful. The left leg can fold and stretch across the mat. The right knee is going to come into the chest. I'm going to take a second to release the left hip. Switch on your left bum cheek, please. Thank you. You can feel that that just releases the front of the hip a little. Okay, so, spoiler alert, one side is going to feel very different to the other on this, so don't worry if it feels totally crazy different. That's because most of us have already have an inherent rotation in the pelvis anyway. So here we go. We've got the right knee bent over the hip. We're going to relax and let the right hip drop into the mat. We'll take an exhale as the right hip pulls back to the center, the left hip presses into the mat. This time we're trying to use right tummy, left back. Breathe in, drop the pelvis so that the right hip bone pulls away from the pubic bone. Breathe out, using pelvic floor and tummy muscles to rotate the pelvis back to center. Again, breath in as you release. Now for me, this is my difficult side, definitely much harder. I'm already walking around slightly rotated most of the time. This is why it's important to keep on top of your alignment and do Pilates all the time. So we've rotated back to the center for the last time. Hold it. Let's stretch out that right leg. We're going into our one leg circle. A breath in to prepare. A breath out. Prepare for that rotation as the right leg circles out to the right. Now, because this is harder for me this side, my circle is going to have to be smaller on this side in order for me to control the pelvis and control the spine. So it might not always look the same, and that's okay. Got one more circle this way. Lovely. We're going to reverse. Nice. Just got 3 more. Really pressing that left hip back into the mat. Well done. Right leg can drift back to the floor. We'll take the left knee into the chest, give it a little hug, switch on the right glutes and open up the hip. Awesome. Now, we worked our hip flexors pretty hard there, so let's do a nice stretch for that. Step your feet wider than the mat, please. Let both knees roll towards me. Lovely. You'll feel a stretch through this hip. Now we're going to switch on this bum cheek, the top glute, and see if you can reach down and take hold of your foot with your hand. If you can't reach it, please don't worry. Just the traction between your foot and the mat should be enough for you to feel that nice stretch through the hip. Lovely. We'll take the feet still either side of the mat and then roll the knees away from me. Perhaps reach down and take hold of the foot if you can. And engage the glutes, really opening up the hips and stretching the quads. Okay, so I'm getting a bit sleepy lying down here on my back, so I think we'll come onto our side for a little while. We're going to come onto the elbow, and we're going to shrug the shoulder towards the ear as though we don't have a care in the world. Take a breath in. As we breathe out, feel as though you have a feather tickling you underneath the ribs, lifting your rib cage away from the mat, pressing your elbow into the floor, start to wake up your obliques, the glutes start to press the hips away from the floor, and the top arm reaches up and over the shoulder. We can lower ourselves down with control. As we come down, I want you to go all the way back to your no care in the world position. Maybe we'll take this further if you want to. Stretch out both legs, the top foot is forward. The lower leg is back and the lower ankle must be flexed. We'll exhale, get a tickle in the ribs, the waist, the glutes switch on, up and over. And a breath in as we return and shrug. And again, pressing away, waking up lats, serratus, obliques, glutes, the whole thing. Lovely. We can come all the way back down to rest. Nice work. So we're going to wrap the lower arm around the waist. The knees are going to bend. The top hand is pressing into the floor, either palm or knuckle, whichever you prefer. We'll exhale as we push ourselves away from the mat, just with the one arm. We'll inhale as we lower ourselves back down, shoulder lowers first, because the spine stays neutral. If you can't push yourself all the way from the floor, don't worry at all. The suggestion of it is enough for me. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to not actually lift. Press down. It means that you're still waking up all of these muscles here, And that's what I want. Breathe out as you push. And we're coming down for our last time. Nice. The lower arm is going to stretch out underneath the head, and the top leg is going to straighten out over the mat. The waist is going to lift away from the floor. The top hand is still supporting you. We're going to swoop the leg forward, breathing in, breathing out to make a nice big circle in the air, trying to keep the pelvis nice and stable, the glutes switched on. Great. Just going to do 3 lovely big circles. Imagine you're reaching the leg out of the socket. Keeping the waist away from the floor is going to challenge your core. We can reverse now. Exhaling as the leg goes back and up. Inhaling as you bring it as far forward as you can without changing the shape of the spine and the pelvis. Trying to keep a nice slow descent. Ready for our last one. We can rest the leg here. Great. Bend the knee. Take hold of the knee with the lower arm. The top arm is going to reach all the way back, opening up the chest and breathing into our rotation. Nice. Let's make our way back to the center. We'll come up to sitting. Take your top leg and cross it over your lower leg. Take a twist towards your knee and give it a little hug. And then we can use the back hand to give us a little bit more of a twist back if we want it. Sink your hip into the mat. Nice. Nice, good. Okay, so we're going to take our legs over to the other side. Come down into our, we'll call it the sulky teenager, shall we? Sulky teenager position. And then we'll take a breath in to prepare. Take a breath out as we get a little tickle underneath the ribs. The neck lengthens, the shoulder comes away from the ear. We end up with elbow underneath the shoulder, coming all the way up and over into our side bend. Breathing in as we come all the way back down, controlling our descent with all of those same muscles, glutes, waist, shoulder. This time, if you want, top leg comes forward, lower leg goes back, ankle flexed on the lower leg. Exhale as we push ourselves all the way up and over again. And breathe in as you lower yourself down, landing softly. Full range of motion, so shrug your shoulder each time. Feel that sequence of muscles switching on so that no one particular muscle has to work particularly hard. You've got all of your muscles, your whole body working in unison. So, knees can bend. We can wrap the lower arm around the waist, lower ourselves down onto the floor, the hand or the knuckle just underneath the elbow in line with the shoulder. Take a breath. As you exhale, switch on the muscles here, your lats. See if you can push yourself up and away from the floor. Keep your knees glued together. Your shoulder lands first, keeping the spine nice and neutral. Just 2 more. Nice work. As you land, the lower arm stretches out underneath your head, supporting your neck. Top hand can support you here. Top leg straightens. The waist lifts away from the floor. We'll take a breath in as the leg swings slowly forward. A breath out as we draw our circle in the sky, lengthening the leg. And a breath in as it swings forward again. Feel that stretch in the back of the leg before you lift. Lovely, last one. Ready to reverse now. As you exhale, tummy muscles and pelvic floor switch on, glutes activate, making sure the spine doesn't arch on the way back. Controlling that descent, so the circle is exactly the same speed all the way around. Lovely. The leg can rest, the knee can bend. We can take hold of the top knee with the lower hand, reach all the way back, and just melt into your rotation. Beautiful. So we'll make our way back, come up to sitting. Bring your top ankle over your lower knee. Take a twist towards your knee, looking over your shoulder, sinking your hip into the mat. And we're done.